of you are great friends, right? So you have debated quite a bit on jobs policies before. Okay, first off, do you agree with the president that it is a deep concern that wages have not risen? Why are we stuck here?
Well, it's been a concern.
All the benefits we've seen, or much of the benefits we've seen from the Fed stimulus programs, has really gone towards the markets, right? It hasn't gone towards the actual economy, the actual jobs market.
Correct. And because of less of the additional dollar they make, and therefore the economy is looking at a demand deficit. So this is really important, not just from a social and political perspective. It's also
key for you to look for in these numbers.
I focus on the hourly earnings of production non-supervisory workers. Those are the workers who have been lagging behind the market. Over the last few years, I think we are going to start to see a little bit of an edge up in wage growth.
All right, Alan, just stay with me, and Mohammed, of course, you as well, because those numbers are just seconds away now. We're just moments away from the November labor report. Chief Markets Correspondent Scarlett Fu. Alan?
Well, I usually don't overreact to the report, but this is one of those wow reports. This confirms.
Say it, Alan. Wow.
Wow. I mean, this was a terrific report. Time because inequality increased so much and average workers weren't getting the income to spend. So hopefully that's a trend that will continue going forward as well.
Mohammed, I saw you taking notes. What was your big takeaway right immediately, your immediate reaction?
So my immediate reaction was Japan and Europe. So we're going to see major movements in the currency markets. This is going to be really interesting to see how Wall Street digests this number.
Right. If we already thought we saw divergence, it's going to be even more to the extremes, right?
Correct. And the issue, I mean, divergence is the theme for the fourth quarter and for next year.
Yeah.
And the main issue for all of us is it correct to allow the currency market to be the only shock absorber in this more divergent world? Because that's what's happening right now. Fiscal policy isn't adjusting, structural reforms aren't adjusting, so it's the currency market. And what we know from the past is that currency markets, when they move as much as they've moved so far, they tend to break something.
Yeah.
So this is going to be really interesting in terms of the global implications as well as what it means for the Fed.
All right, Scarlett? Issue of the Fed, right? So does this really change the game for the Fed and when they move?
Well, I think it changes the perceptions of the market. So the market was starting to think, well, maybe that
by the Fed, right?
Yeah, but the market tended to go a little bit and push it back, and there was some even saying 2016.
Right.
I think some of 2015 is the most likely outcome.
Alan?
I have been expecting the middle of 2015.
Let's say we get another number like this, or another 2.
Well, there's certainly a chance if they see headline inflation rising,
okay.
Particularly in the GDP deflation.
With us, I'm going to let you, Mohammed, digest these numbers a little bit more and analyze them. And thanks also to Alan Kruger for staying with me as well through the jobs numbers. And much more ahead, continuing coverage of today's strong labor report. A big surprise, former federal big story of the morning. Yes, jobs, a whopping 321,000 jobs added in the U.S. in November, the 11th straight month of over 200,000 new jobs created, this time by a long shot. So joining us live from D.C. is Alice with us. Alice Rivlin, the former OMB director, former Federal Reserve vice chair as well. And we're staying on the jobs beat throughout the morning. Much more on the report. It's basically blown past anybody's estimates. The jobless rate, though, has stayed at 5.8%. So that is a summary of the jobs numbers, but we are going to be digging further and further into that throughout the next hour. But in the meantime, here's a look at the top tech stories of the labor market. It's the American worker that's the big story. Let's talk about the jobs data and what it means for the Fed's next move with our special guest this hour, Bloomberg View columnist and former PIMCO CEO, because from jobs to oil, what falling crude oil prices mean for the global economy. Stay in the loop.